In this video, we look at two popular offerings from the well-known Swiss brand Tissot. Coming in at the same price point but offering vastly different styles and purposes, we have the integrated bracelet 70s heritage-inspired PRX and the modern diver watch SeaStar 1000. Both of these references, along with the Gentleman, which I previously looked at, are all fairly recent offerings from Tissot, and the mechanical versions of all these models include its Powermatic 80 automatic movement. Tissot as a brand has a long and rich history, and the company has done an exceptional job delivering quality Swiss-made watches at that accessible $300 to $1,500 price point. In the past few years, they have been pushing the boundaries through technological innovation as well as looking back in their historical catalog for inspiration. If you're looking at a watch within this mid-level price tier, Tissot is a brand that you are likely looking at. Let's take a look first at the PRX. Tissot reached back into its vault from 1978 to gain inspiration from its original PRX line. The PR in the name stands for precise and robust, and the X is actually the Roman numeral 10, which references 10 atmospheres of depth, which is what the water resistance rating is for this piece. The PRX is available in an automatic and a quartz version, with the automatic version retailing from $625 up to $1,850, and the quartz retailing from $325 up to $450. Beyond the movement, the PRX is available in many different aesthetic variations, including several different dial colors, strap options, versions with a fluted bezel, and more. The reference we will look at in this video is the classic blue dial on a bracelet. The case on this watch is made of stainless steel and measures 40mm in diameter, 45mm lug to lug, and 11mm thickness. However, the end links on this integrated bracelet don't fully pivot down, which creates an effective lug to lug of around 51mm. The case is brushed, but the bezel surrounding the dial is polished. The dial is protected by a flat sapphire crystal that is equipped with anti-reflective coating to maintain legibility in harsh lighting conditions. As mentioned before, the case is water resistant up to a versatile 100 meters. At the 3 o'clock position, there is a small signed crown that is not screw down. The dial is a really nice deep blue with a slight sunburst effect and has that iconic waffle texture. When it hits the light just right, the color really pops, but it's definitely not easy to show that on this video. The dial is pretty clean and elegant looking, with long, thin, polished applied hour markers extending towards the center from the chapter ring. The hour and minute hands are a simple baton style, and the seconds hand is extremely thin and you almost lose it amidst the dial. There is minimal text on this dial at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and there is a framed date window at the 3 o'clock position. Apart from the unique dial texture, the obvious highlight of this watch is its integrated bracelet. Fully brushed other than the inner edges of the center links, the bracelet really hugs the wrist nicely, and this watch has a dual trigger butterfly clasp. Definitely a pretty unique design feature here, and I think the flat case with this integrated bracelet is a really polarizing look that may not be for everyone. Now let's turn to this modern diver offering from Tissot. Released in 2018, the Tissot SeaStar 1000 automatic diver has also received a positive reception. The SeaStar collection itself has over 30 variations, including both quartz and automatic movements, chronographs, two-tone bezels and bracelets, and a dizzying array of colors. The reference we are looking at today is the simple bright blue 3-hands dial on a bracelet. The case on this watch is stainless steel and measures at just under 43mm in diameter, 50mm lug to lug, and 13.5mm thickness. While the actual lug to lug is reasonable, since the end links on this model also don't fully pivot down, it creates an effective lug to lug of approximately 53mm. Even with these measurements, the watch feels and looks a bit smaller, and it fits really well on my 16cm wrist. Although the 13.5mm thickness is pretty reasonable, this watch does feel a bit chunkier on my wrist than other watches with the same diameter. I think that's mostly because the case on this piece maintains its thickness all the way to the edge. The unidirectional diver's bezel on this watch is nicely grippy, and the movement is very crisp. The case is water resistant to a nice 300 meters and features a signed screw-down crown. One negative about this watch would be the weight, which comes in at right around 180 grams, so you do feel the presence on your wrist. The case sides have both brushed and polished surfaces, and the style is very rugged and modern looking, with a definite sports watch vibe. The bracelet on this diver is a traditional 3-link design with brushed outer links and highly polished center links. The clasp is a fully brushed, fold-over, push-button deployant clasp that is signed with the Tissot logo, and has a diver's extension. The face on the SeaStar model is quite striking, and the luminescent blue hue on the dial and the bezel is pretty mesmerizing, and reminds me of the sea, which works really well in this diver. The dial has round applied hour markers, with rectangles at the 3, 6, and 9, and a triangle at the 12 o'clock. The hour and minute hands are thick swords that I really like, and the seconds hand is a nice lollipop at the end of it. There is your standard diver's text on this dial, and I think the SeaStar logo actually looks pretty cool. There is also an unframed date window at the 6 o'clock. Both of these watches have exhibition casebacks where you can see the internals in action. The movement on these watches is the Tissot PRX 80, which is an ETA 2824 with the addition of a silicon balance spring, which boosts the power reserve to an impressive 80 hours and provides greater longevity, precision, and resistance to magnetism. Both watches have a quick date setting as well as hand winding and seconds hacking. The lume on the SeaStar is really strong, typical of a diver watch, and the lume on the PRX is quite faint. These two watches would be a great option for someone looking to build a nice two-watch collection around $1,500. The PRX is a bit dressier, but also has a nice playful retro look that makes it something that can be worn daily. The SeaStar is a capable sports watch that comes in a variety of colors and style options. The moment I saw a video of the PRX, I thought I would absolutely love it, and was excited to purchase it for my collection early on. But I have to say, unfortunately, now that I've seen it in person and tried it on my wrist, I just don't think it's the style for me. This is 100% subjective and should not make any impact on your feelings towards this watch, but that's why it's always good to see a watch in person and try it on before you purchase it. I do like the SeaStar, particularly the stunning blue dial on this version. I think it looks great and feels good on my wrist, but it is a bit chunky for me. Ultimately, I think for the price point, both of these watches are fantastic, and you really can't go wrong with either reference.